couple teams here that are spiraling. At least one is coming off bye week. The Bengals are heading into Las Vegas, and the Raiders are 1-point favorites on their home field. Obviously, I mean, the Bengals got outscored by 75 points, or allowed 75 points in their last two games prior to the bye week. They lost to the Jets, man. We just talked about the Mike White era ending. That was the quarterback that threw for 400 yards, 3 passing touchdowns on him. The Raiders, and we'll get into Patrick Mahomes, but the Raiders finally allowed the Chiefs offense to unload. And you're starting to wonder now, is the headline starting to become a little bit too much for them? The John Gruden thing, the Henry Ruggs thing, the David Arnett thing. A team could only overcome so much.
I will say, I think the thing that's affecting them more than anything else is just the Raiders weren't actually as good as we thought we were thing, which happens every single year, regardless of scandal. It's just the Raiders are never as good as we actually think they are. It's the reason I picked the Chiefs last week, was only on the basis of the Raiders are not allowed to be legitimately good. And I was correct.
See, aside from the game against the Chiefs, the Raiders have still remained a top 10 passing defense. So they have gotten better. They have made significant strides. I think that now you're just starting to see parts of this offense start to unravel. You lose I know we haven't really talked about Henry Ruggs from much of an actual football standpoint, but losing him on the field is not nothing. He was still the fastest wide receiver in the National Football League. So just losing that dynamicism, losing that big play threat in the offense, and then replacing him with a 35-year-old or whatever, Deshaun Jackson, who's making the most absurd fumble. I mean, I talk about stupid interceptions, but you talk about Deshaun Jackson's fumble there in the Sunday night game too. Just as bad. When you have wide open space, you should be scoring easy, and that happens. Incredible. I mean, this is only the second time in Deshaun Jackson's career that he's had a surefire touchdown turn into disaster. I'm going to let you pick first on this one. I want to see what direction you go with it.
Yeah, this is an interesting choice here, because I think these teams are incredibly evenly matched. I was going to pick the opposite of whatever you picked on this one, but now you're doing the classic Bill Belichick game theory situation. I've been reading the book by Seth Wickersham, or at least listening to the audiobook. So one of the biggest Belichickian ideas is let your opponent make the mistake more than anything else. Is if you let your opponent go on long enough, they will be the one who makes the mistake. And when they make the mistake, you capitalize on that situation. So well played on the game theory on your part here. I'm going to just, flip a coin on this one and see what to do. I think that is the best chance for me to get this one correct. So heads is going to be for the Bengals on a standard quarter. Heads for the Bengals, tails for the Raiders. Let's see what happens.
If you're an audio only listener, Kyle is picking up the quarter. You probably heard it fall to the ground.
You probably did. And I have the Cincinnati Bengals, according to this, because I have no idea who's going to win this football game. They are very evenly matched. I know Joe Burrow and Derek Carr have gotten a lot of comparisons so far this season. And it is very interesting how this season has gone so far for the Bengals, where I get branded the Bengals hater, and then they win and I say they are better than I thought they would be, and then they lose a couple games. And I have taken a victory lap only for the wrestling character persona of being a Bengals hater. But to be honest, the Bengals have still been better than I thought they would be this year. The fact that they're fighting for a playoff spot, again, if you told Bengals fans coming into this season, you're going to be fighting for a playoff spot in December, that would be a victory for the Bengals from where they started out last year. And so, as same situation with the Chargers right now, who we'll get to later. This would, and I guess even the Raiders to a certain extent, because some people said the Raiders would be really bad this year, like myself. But even still, I think the Cincinnati Bengals are in an interesting place. I don't know if bye week helps or not. I think this is a matchup dictated game, and I don't know exactly how these matchups are going to mess things up, because you mentioned that the Raiders have improved their pass defense even while losing Damon Arnett and having Jonathan Abram being hurt for a bunch of the season, and for the Kansas City Chiefs just torching them last week for, 350 yards and 5 touchdowns from Patrick Mahomes. All of that to say, I just don't know how that's going to work out. Does Jamar Chase fill the Tyreek Hill role? Do they game plan differently coming into this week and emphasize taking away the deep ball? Does T. Higgins play in this game? I think he's going to play, but I know he's been battling injuries back and forth here for the past few weeks. So all of that is really interesting. On the Raiders side of things, do the Raiders want to establish the run? Do they want to get Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake involved early, or do they want to try and throw the ball and use the pass like the run? There's so many variables. I don't know how this game's going to go. I just flipped a coin for it, and I'm taking the Cincinnati Bengals because that's what the coin flip said to do.
You know, the gamesmanship angle would have worked better if I didn't agree with you, because I am actually going with the Bengals as well. Just kind of like reviewing some statistics on it. I was blown away by the point differentials between both these teams. For example, the Bengals are plus 33 right now, whereas the Raiders are minus 20. So I guess if you're talking about the Raiders being a team that's worse than we perceive them as, that would be the ultimate thing in the Raiders' detriment. I would also say that the Bengals, where their defense has struggled in recent weeks, is their ability to maintain pass coverage for their cornerbacks to stick on wide receivers. And that's going to be something that's not as much of a concern when you go against the Raiders, because the Bengals early on had a good pass rush in the season. The Raiders have a bottom third offensive line. So I think coming off the bye week, their legs are fresh. I think the Bengals can apply more of a pass rush this week, and that's going to allow them to make things very difficult for the Raiders to move the ball. I think it's going to be a lot of checkdowns, a lot of dump offs to Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, the running backs. But I don't think the Raiders are going to be able to develop anything deep, because I think the Bengals are going to get great pass rush this week. The X factor you mentioned is how are Gus Bradley and the Raiders going to take away Jamar Chase. When it comes to Jamar, when you look at the two games that the Bengals lost prior to the bye week, he had less than 50 receiving yards. So clearly teams are planning around taking away Jamar Chase from the equation, similar to we talked about the Chargers take away Mike Williams, or the Chiefs take away Tyreek Hill deep. So if Jamar Chase gets taken out of the equation, that's the Raiders' opportunity to at least have some success. But then that leaves the important factors. Okay, how are you guarding T. Higgins? How are you guarding Tyler Boyd? How are you stopping Joe Mixon with a below average run defense? And I think that's where the Bengals win this game.
Yeah, it's ironic that you mentioned all those people, because I have Jamar Chase, Mike Williams, and Patrick Mahomes on my fantasy football team, which thank you, Mahomes, for breaking my 2-game losing streak.
I'm with it.
Beautiful.
I am so with it. As much as I would have loved to go 5-0 in the pick'em last week, I needed those 5 Patrick Mahomes touchdowns a little bit more in my fantasy lineups.
Yeah, no, I knew it had to be correct. Is like, just on the basis of the Raiders are never allowed to be legitimately good, that they will lose that game to the Chiefs. And I was right, that the Raiders are not allowed to be good. And I am tempted to pivot on this one, but I will respect the beauty of the coin, and the coin will tell me best on this one, which one to pick.